This is a continued executive session on all pending legislation that we have before the committee. And before we get going with the procedures, I'd like it if everybody could join me with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is an electronic meeting, and I have some announcements that need to occur. I need members using devices in the room to mute and turn them off so that there is no feedback. The microphones in the room pick up sound very well, or at least that's what they tell us. And we need to be careful about having a tied conversation. I am hoping the hearing, recording has been ongoing. Hold on, that's me. Mine was muted, but something happened, so, okay. So there is a sign-up sheet on bills. This is an executive session today. So sign-up sheets on bills that we have considered, from my understanding, were closed on 11/59 of the last day that we had public hearings on them, which would have been Monday the 8th. Today is the 10th. As to today, as chair of the House Election Law Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with House Rule 67 and the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. This is a public hearing on bills referred to the committee and scheduled in the House calendar for today. An executive session may be held on any bill referred to the committee. Please note that there is no physical location for members of the public to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that all members of this committee and select legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom electronic platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting by the Zoom platform or by telephone. All necessary access information has been made available in the House calendar and through the electronic calendar on the General Court website. The notice for this meeting complies with House Rules and RSA 91A, and anyone who has a problem listening or accessing this meeting should call 271-3600 or email hcs@leg.state.nh.us. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote, and we're going to start by taking a roll call attendance and let people know if you're attending remotely, if anybody's in the room. It is my understanding that Representative Murray joins us again today. Welcome. And if the clerk would call the roll, thank you.
I forget who she's covering for.
Today, I believe Representative Murray is covering for Representative Bergeron.
That's what I thought. And we're going to start with Representative Murray.
Here and alone in my home.
Representative Berry. Here. Representative Cody.
Here.
Representative Freitas.
He's having trouble logging on. Both she and Kat are having, Sandler are having problems logging on.
And I have sent, just so everybody knows, I have resent links to both of them very recently, but I will keep trying. If there are other issues, maybe we can communicate.
Could you check to see if they might have a different email for Pam to send the link to? If they're using their House election law email, there's a lot of traffic going on that email, and I know I had Pam send it to another email address.
I did send Representative Sandler's to her personal address, and I don't have another address for Representative Freitas. So if anyone knows one, I'd be happy to do that.
And if not, let's have them call in. Everybody has made an effort to make all these meetings. If we have problems with the member accessing, we'll take a break till we can get it figured out. All right, you want to continue?
Madam Chair.
I am present.
Representative Growing.
Here.
Representative Hamblett.
Here in my home, and my son's in another room.
Thank you. Representative Hamer.
I'm here in my home in Manchester with one other family member.
Thank you. Representative Hayward. Representative Lane.
I'm here and, sorry, I am alone in my home office and on the phone with Representative Sandler.
Representative McDonald.
Here.
Representative Mooney.
Here.
Representative Muirhead.
Present, and no one is in this room with me.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
I'm here.
Representative Quayle.
Here.
Representative Sandler. Right, she's having trouble, right?
Right, we've got two
Represent-
people having trouble.
Right. Representative Sweeney.
Here.
Representative Terosian.
Here.
Representative Ward.
Here in Portsmouth, 2 family members in the house.
Clerk is here. Okay. So we're just going to kind of,
All right, I'm gonna go through the plan for the day, and if people are still having access issues, we're gonna break for 15 minutes to give people an opportunity to get this worked out. This is, as far as I know, this is gonna be an executive session on all remaining bills that we have at this point in time, and I want to give everybody the opportunity to be here. Everybody on this committee has been terrific about attendance, and I'm not going to let electronic issues prevent people from attending. Today, we will be hearing in a slightly different order than is noticed. So I'm going to go a little slower so everybody can get things ordered. We're going to do 98 and 327 first. Both of those have been continued from a previous noticed executive session. We're going to move to 531, 535, 538, 554, 429, 362, 508. It is my understanding that as to those bills, we have an amendment to 98. We have a couple of amendments that Representative Groen has worked on, but the one I have been informed he plans to introduce is Amendment 0743 with a date of March 9th. I have asked that email be resent this morning because of the email issues this committee is currently having on trying to find anything. So if you don't have it in hand, the recess, if we don't have everybody present, will allow you an opportunity to get that amendment 743H. I am not aware of any other amendments for the bills I just listed. If somebody has an amendment on those bills, let's take the break take the opportunity of the break to work out electronic issues to get those amendments in. And then after we vote on the bills that I mentioned before, ending with House Bill 508, this committee will be taking another recess. And I'll determine at that time how long it will be, because it is my understanding that while we have in our possession as to SB 43, we have been sent Amendment 0639. We have been sent Amendment 063H. It is my understanding that we also received some emails from Representative Groen with an amendment possibly. He is not planning on introducing those. And it is my understanding there is another amendment for SB 43 that is being finalized right now, and we will be taking a break so that all committee members have an opportunity to review all the amendments before we reconvene to vote on our last two bills, which will be SB 2 and SB 43. So looks to me like we are still missing Representative Sandler and Representative Freitas. Is that correct? It is. All right. We are going to take a break until 10:25, and we will be in recess until that point in time, and let's see if we can get that straightened out. Representative Muirhead?
On a technical issue, just during the break, I figured out how to create what's called a rule that directs the incoming flow about SB 43 into a special email box where I can read them all separately. And if anyone is, interested in that and wants a little guidance, I'm happy to try to walk you through it. It then clears out your inbox automatically.
Will it deal with the emails that we've already got?
Yes.
I'll work on that, Madam Chair. I'll see if I can find another rule for that.
Everybody would be interested in that because there is an ongoing issue, in my opinion, that has existed since the beginning of the session as to email communication, because the substance of what we're doing has changed so much. I'm not sure that the new rule, which was adopted, makes a lot of sense, and there needs to be some consideration of how we handle this going forward. Representative Muirhead, I know I and many members sitting here today will be interested in getting your hints. Thank you. All right, we're in recess. Ross, could you move it?
Good morning, Representative Freitas. It's good to see you. We are just on a break right now while we're addressing technical difficulties. It was your sign in and Representative Sandler's sign in. And so that's why it appears that not much is happening right now, but the plan is to come back at 10:25.
Thank you for your assistance. That's very comforting. Thank you.
Glad to see you. Representative Sandler, we see you. And your husband, most likely. Perfect. We were on a recess until 10:25, so we could sort out.
I had to bring in my tech support.
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad that you are with us. So we're going to be back in just a few minutes now that everybody is here.
Madam Chairman, our video is on and we are unmuted.
All right, I think we have everybody. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. All right. Natalie, can you just give me the roll call list? And I just want to, we're not doing an official roll call. All right, I'm hoping, can people hear me without turning this mic on? People online hearing me? Okay. Senator Warren says yes. No, I don't. So I'm just going to run through names and just say yes. It's not an official roll call. We recess for the purposes of getting everybody here, and I want to make sure we've got everybody here to start. All right, make it Representative Murray.
Here.
Representative Barry.
Here.
Representative Cody.
Can't hear you.
Oh,
Here.
Cody. Representative Freitas. You're
I
here.
can barely hear you. If you said Freitas, yes, I am here, but I cannot hear you very well.
All right. Are you on your computer? She can't hear me at all. Can other people online hear me?
You're coming through loud and clear on my computer, Madam Chair.
Me
I
too.
can hear fine too.
Representative Freitas, try looking at the volume on your computer and seeing if it's turned up all the way.
I checked my volume. It's on high. I can't figure why. I'll listen carefully, but it's not good.
If you don't hear what's going on, say it and we'll make sure somebody says something so we can try to get you to hear it. Representative Groen, you're here, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Representative Hamblin.
Yes.
Okay, you're here. Representative Hamer.
Yes.
Can't hear.
Okay. Representative Hayward, you're here.
Yes.
Representative Lane. Yep, I see you. Can we hear you today?
I'm here and alone in my home office.
We can hear you. All right. Representative Donald is here. Representative Mooney is here. Representative Muirhead, are you with us? And you can hear. All right. Representative Prudhomme O'Brien is here. Representative Quayle is here. Representative Sandler, are you here?
I am here
Great,
in my
thank you.
home office alone.
Okay. Representative Sweeney is here. Representative Terosian, Representative
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Okay. He's here and Representative Wells is here. All right, we've got everybody. So thank you, everybody, for indulging me in having this recess so we could make sure that we have everybody in attendance. As I stated before, today we are executing bills. We're going to start with 98. And we're going to go through some bills. We're going to take a recess and then we're going to come back and do committee executive session and discussion on SB 2 and SB 43. So the first motion for executive session this morning is HB 98. This had a public hearing on January 29th. We continued that because during session there was some discussion about possible amendment to this bill, which relates to moving the primary date to June. And does anybody have a motion on that? Representative Groen.
Madam Chair, I move to amend HB 98 with amendment 0743H.
And is there a second?
I second that, Madam Chairman.
Representative Ross, to speak to your amendment, Representative Groen.
Yes, I would, Madam Chair. HB 98 as filed proposes to move the New Hampshire primary from the second Tuesday in September to the first Tuesday in June, and to move the filing date for candidacy from the first Wednesday in June to the first Wednesday in March. At the hearing for HB 98, concern was voiced that the first Tuesday in June would interfere with the last weeks of school, particularly where schools are used as voting locations. I researched the school calendars of 10 of the largest school districts in New Hampshire and found that the last day of the school was between the 11th and the 18th of June. This amendment will move the primary date to the fourth Tuesday of June, which puts it outside of the school calendars, but still before most families take their vacations. We also heard concern that the first Wednesday of March was too early for the start of the filing period. This amendment moves the filing period to the fourth Wednesday of April. This does shorten the filing time, the period of time between the filing period and the primary to 2 months. But of course, nothing prevents a candidate from starting to campaign before the filing period begins. The Secretary of State already has the authority in redistricting years to move the filing period back in the event that redistricting is not finalized before the filing period begins. This amendment adds language to give the Secretary of State similar authority to move the primary date in a redistricting year if he has exercised his authority to move the filing date. I urge you to support this amendment, HB 98.
Thank you. Discussions about this primary date. Representative Lane.
Yes, I was wondering why we're not retaining this bill the same way we retain the other bills regarding a change in the date, because we thought there would be some more work done and to further explore this over the next year.
Representative Berman.
To the, I guess that's not particularly to the amendment, but to the overall bill, I believe, and I'm ready to speak to it on the bill itself, that this is a very important change. I think it is a change that benefits both of the major, I think it benefits all parties because it gives an opportunity to coalesce behind the chosen candidate in a period of more than the current 7 or 8 weeks that we have. And this allows us to get this bill before the Senate, hopefully passed there, and allows for planning time that's needed by the Secretary of State to make the adjustments.
Representative Berry.
Yeah, I just want to kind of answer Representative Lane's question, I think a little more directly. She asked why we're doing this one and not the other two. So we talked about working on the movement primary date. This is the vehicle that we're working on. So the amendment that we have before us is the work product of that. It's already undergone, I think, 2 or 3 compromises at this point, as Representative Gruen said, particularly around school dates and trying to make sure that the filing window kind of matches up with our legislative schedule to as best as we can. So I hope that answers your question, Representative Lane.
So I guess to put your response another way, the retention wasn't so much because you disagreed with the concept. People who were proposing this believed that this was the better vehicle to do it.
Right.
Could I have a follow-up, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I'm curious because when we had bills like this before us in previous session, many people felt that June was too early, that we were still doing the House's business, and to try and run a campaign and finish up the House's business was too much of a burden, particularly for essentially a volunteer position. So I'm curious as to what the reason is for that change in opinion now.
I'm not sure that everybody had that opinion. I think some people might have changed it. Who's this?
Yep.
Representative Sweeney. The screen is very nice.
Sorry.
Blocked. Representative Sweeney.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chairman Berman, and thank you, Representative, for the questions on the bill. I'm also one of the sponsors on the legislation. And as we've said, we have 2 other pieces of legislation that do move the primary date. I do not think it is asking too much of the individuals running for the legislature to campaign for a June primary and then a November general election. Like many Granite Staters, then they would be able to go and take a little vacation in July and August when most Granite Staters aren't really paying attention to politics anyways, and then we rush right back into after Labor Day weekend into September and October in that first week of November for the general election. We're really not overwhelmingly changing the calendar of when a campaign is going to be. Really, the crunch time for the campaign is always the last 2 weeks before the election. That doesn't change under this bill, and that can't change under any legislation because that's just a practical component of political campaigning. The 45-day window really before the election is usually the time when people are campaigning. I don't see any reason why this bill would require anybody to campaign more than 45 days out from a primary and then 45 days out from the general election when they're the nominee, especially when they're running for state legislative seats that we all occupy. But this bill will go to great lengths to ensure that candidates that are running for those executive council seats, some of those more competitive state senate seats, the congressional seats, the senate seats, and the governor's seat, will have more time to organize and build their campaign, and it's something that both parties are going to benefit from in the long run.
Representative Cody.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have the same concerns that Representative Lane has, especially considering that I just lost my audio. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now it's back. Especially considering the fact that historically we've wanted to take a closer look at some of these, and we did that in the past. And so I think what ought to happen here is this bill ought to be retained as the other one were, and we ought to work on those and come out with a unified position that includes both the majority party and the minority party as to where we go forward. If we can't do that, that's another question. But I will be opposing the motion in chief when it arises. Thank you.
Representative Barry.
Just to kind of explain one more thing, or maybe comment on Representative Lane's question. I've done a lot of work on this bill talking with state reps, and what I have to constantly remind them is we are not the only ones on the ballot, and you can't look at our primary solely through the lens of a state representative. I can't say you disregard it, but there's other people on the ballot. There's governor, U.S. Senate, Congress, county commissioners. There's a whole executive council or state senate. There's a whole different campaigns on the ballot, and we are a volunteer legislator. We all make the same amount of money. That was a joke, but the idea that the reality is, as a state rep, the overwhelming vast majority of state reps do not undergo primaries that are incumbents. And it's actually, in my opinion, would burden us the least. And the idea that somehow as legislators we can't simultaneously read legislation and campaign or walk and chew gum at the same time is a little out there. Most other states do this, and I recognize that most other states don't have a volunteer legislator, and I'm sensitive to that. But I think the reality is this does more good than bad, and it is already the result of multiple compromises. We've already moved it back a month.
Multiple compromises from your perspective.
Yes.
Just to make that clear. All right, Representative Groen.
Yeah, I would like to respond as well to that. A very small minority of state rep races have primaries. And even on state senate races, which are a little more competitive, very few of them have primaries. On the other hand, every state senate race has an opponent in the general election, and nearly all state rep races have an opponent in the general election. So I think the advantage of this is that it gives the parties time to coalesce behind the chosen candidates. And as far as campaigning, the representatives and senators that don't have a primary most likely aren't going to start campaigning before the June primary, or if they are, they're going to start whether or not it's in June or September. So I think that for the House races, it's not nearly as big of an issue because such a small proportion of these races have primaries.
Or anybody else on the motion on the floor is a motion to amend. Representative Lane.
I guess I would just like to comment that because our pay is $100 a year, many of us also work either full-time or part-time. And also the legislative schedule, at least this year, has been grueling, and I suspect it will be next year as well. And I just would humbly point out that not all of us have the time to campaign, do legislative work, and try and continue in our full-time jobs as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why in the past people had not liked this position, including many, from both parties actually. So I hear what you're saying. I just raised the concern, and I realize that's not a question, but I am concerned about it.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion on the floor, which is a motion to amend Amendment 2021-0743H? I'm not seeing any. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen, Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk says yes, Representative Cody,
No.
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Murray,
No.
Representative Sandler,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Freitas,
No.
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Muirhead,
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so 11-9.
Amendment 0743 has passed committee 11-9. Is there a motion? Representative Groen.
I move to pass, Madam Chair, on HB 98.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I want to second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Madam Chair, I would just reaffirm what we've already talked about. I think we've had significant discussion on the body of the bill and the purpose of the bill, so I don't think I need to add to that right now.
Thank you. I'm going to support the bill. I think the bill, as we know, has other chambers to deal with. I do think that it raises more concerns for the state rep race perhaps than it does for other races, so I want to be considerate of that. And we'll see where we end up. So, and nobody else has any comments. I'm going to ask her to call the roll. The roll is, the motion on the floor is ought to pass as amended, HB 98, amendment number 0743.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes, Representative Cody,
No.
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Murray,
No.
Representative Sandler,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Freitas,
No.
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Muirhead,
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's 11-9.
HB 98, as amended, will go on the calendar with an 11-9 vote, and I'll wait to hear if there's going to be a minority report. The next bill that we're considering this morning is HB 327, requiring that voters show identification when personally delivering absentee ballots to town and city clerks. This was continued from March 8th. This had to do with the actual envelope and what was going to happen when it was delivered. Is there a motion?
Yes,
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to retain this bill.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Representative Hayward. Representative Prudhomme O'Brien, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would, thank you. This bill has some aspects of it that need to be answered more fully. One of them is about the affidavit envelope being marked. I spoke to my own town moderator yesterday, and she's concerned about the practical reality of that and not wanting to open the envelope. Representative Bergeron brought up some interesting points that are worthy of consideration about whether or not the word "or" should be used in place of the word "and" at the end of line 4, in the middle of line 4. This just needs to be discussed more in the larger context of treating absentee ballots and in the pre-processing of absentee ballots. So I would like to change for those reasons.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to retain HB 327. Is there a discussion on the motion in the room here or on anybody? I'm not seeing, oops, I'm on the screen. I'm not seeing anybody indicating they wish to speak to the motion, so I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is to retain HB 327.
Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien?
Yes.
Representative Sweeney?
Yes.
Representative Hayward?
Yes.
Representative Mooney?
Yes.
Representative Terosian?
Yes.
Representative Berry?
Yes.
Representative Groen?
Yes.
Representative Quayle?
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody?
No.
Representative Ward?
No.
Representative Murray?
No.
Representative Sandler? No.
Crazy.
Representative Hamer?
No.
Representative Lane?
No.
Representative Freitas?
No.
Representative Hamblett?
No.
Representative Muirhead?
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
11 to 9.
you sure?
12, eh?
What?
I thought I-
We'll read.
Oh, I'm sorry, who did I not?
Representative Muirhead, I believe, voted yes.
I'm sorry.
No, I said no.
Did?
Oh, I thought you did.
We heard yes over here, just so you know.
Did the wrong word come out? I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, you said no.
It was
Sometimes
to take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
the connection between the little tiny thought in my head and the noise that comes out isn't always as strong as it should be.
Been there.
Wait, so we're back to 11 to 9.
11-9, yes, all right. The next bill that we're talking about this morning is HB 531. This is relative to determining the qualification of voters and establishing provisional voter registration and provisional ballots. This had a public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion? Representative Terosian.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion we retain House Bill 531.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Representative Terosian. Representative Terosian, would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure. I believe there's some pieces of the bill that are worthwhile and make a lot of sense. There are some details that need to be worked out, hence the reason to retain it, so we can work out some of the little things that need to be massaged, if you will, and hopefully bring it out as an OTP later in the legislative season.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to the motion on the floor, which is to retain?
I guess I have a question about what are the details that need to be worked out, and what are the parts of the bill that people think have merit, or specifically the previous speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think there's some common sense parts of the bill with establishing with provisional voter registration in ballots. I mean, you know, we do voter ID. The reality is that people carry IDs. I know in the past we've heard that there's problems with people that don't have IDs, but the numbers don't show that. So I think it's a common sense thing. We heard that there's some fair amount of numbers every year of people that don't bother to ever produce an ID or, you know, concrete proof that they're a resident where they're voting. So I just think it's, other states do this. There are other states that do this with having an ID and not.
You're talking about the provisional balloting.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. So anyway, I'll yield back.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is HB 531, and the motion is to retain.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes. Representative Cody,
No,
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Murray,
No.
Representative Sandler,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Freitas,
No,
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Muirhead,
No.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, 11 to 9.
HB 531 will be retained. The next bill we have in front of us this morning for consideration is 535. 535 is relative to the qualified voter affidavit. It had a public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion on HB 535? Representative Ross.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I move that we retain HB
Representative Berry,
535.
I'm sorry.
It's a,
The motion is to retain. Is there a second?
close ITM.
Second. Representative Mooney seconds it. Discussion on your motion.
yes, Madam Chairman, HB 535 addresses a real and present problem with the with the integrity in our elections. I've spoken about this at length before, so I won't go on right now. But HB 535 needs a little more work, so I would like to retain it.
Is there any further discussion on 535?
yes, ma'am. I guess I'd like to know what further work needs to be done.
Yep, I have to balance it with other legislation working its way through the system right now.
I don't know what that means.
Because I have to consider everything that's going on in the legislature.
Further discussion? I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is to retain HB 535.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes. Representative Cody,
No,
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Murray,
No.
Representative Sandler,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Freitas,
No,
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Muirhead,
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
11 to 9.
HB 535 will be retained. The vote is 11 to 9. The next bill on the list for the committee to consider this morning is 538. Is that right?
Yes.
538 is relative to the domicile, residency, voter registration, and investigation of verification letters, and relative to the terms resident, inhabitant, residence, and residency. This bill had a public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion? Representative Sweeney.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we find House Bill 538 inexpedient to legislate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Representative Garrett. If you want to speak to your motion.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. This bill before us would revert us back to how state law was before House Bill 1264 was passed and implemented in 2018. That bill underwent thorough review when it was debated and passed in 2018. We have run several elections in the state of New Hampshire under those provisions since then without issue, and it increased integrity in our elections. So I would recommend that we all find this bill inexpedient to legislate in order to ensure the most trust and integrity in our state's elections. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the motion is to move it expedient to legislate HB 538. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Barry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes, Representative Cody,
No.
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Murray,
Representative Murray, can you unmute?
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Representative Sandler,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Freitas,
No.
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Muirhead.
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
11-9.
The next bill before us is HB 554, relative to temporary absence from domicile for voting purposes. Is there a motion on HB 554? Representative Mooney.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I would move that House Bill 554 be retained this legislative year.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Representative Terosian speaks. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. There's a lot of credible issues, certainly in this bill. It certainly warrants a much fuller discussion than we've had the time to. So thus, I would encourage my colleagues on the committee to vote to retain.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Could I ask the previous speaker what the nature of the discussion is and what needs to be further determined? Thank you.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
thank you. Thank you for the question. With regards to domicile, it's an issue and there are various sub-issues that go with it in New Hampshire. And so I think a fuller discussion based on this content would be warranted to fully flesh out the issue of domicile.
Representative Muirhead.
I'm curious what problem the bill is trying to solve, or what is the particular problem that the word domicile is causing?
If I can answer as sponsor of the bill, I don't think for this particular bill, there are two words, two issues, not only the domicile issue, but the temporary aspect of whatever may be going on in the state. So I think that was what was trying to be addressed in regards to this legislation, and further defining as to what is needed to be connected to the state for purposes of election laws in 654. Additionally, I think these provisions are part of ongoing litigation that would go back 2 sessions to a bill that frankly, I think a previous bill was directly related to. That would be what was referred to back then as SB3. And so I think some of the changes to the statutes that are directly affected by SB3 might be premature pending a decision. But by retaining them, it gives us as a body an ability to work with these provisions if we receive a decision on that litigation. So I think that was part of the reason this bill was put in, and that was part of the reason that I will be supporting the motion to retain. Is there any further discussion on HB 554? The motion on the floor is to retain. I would just like to point out that this does go back to SB3, and I am coming to the conclusion, particularly after the end of this meeting, that the Senate is the real cause for all of our community problems. So, put that out there. If the clerk could call the roll, HB 538.
554.
Excuse me, 554, the motion is retained.
Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien?
Yes.
Representative Sweeney?
Yes.
Representative Hayward?
Yes.
Representative Mooney?
Yes.
Representative Berry?
Yes.
Oops. Representative Terosian?
Yes.
Representative Groen?
Yes.
Representative Quayle?
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody?
No.
Representative Ward?
No.
Representative Murray?
Representative Murray?
No.
Thank you.
Representative Sandler?
No.
Representative Hamer?
No.
Representative Lane?
No.
Representative Freitas?
No.
Representative Hamblett?
No.
Representative Muirhead?
No.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
11-9.
HB 554, the vote to retain was 11-9. It will be retained. The next bill to be considered by the committee this morning is HB 429. This is relative to college or university student voting. It had a public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I move that HB 429 be inexpedient to legislate.
Is there a second?
I second that, Madam
That's
Chair.
seconded by Representative Sweeney. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative Beard?
Yes, Madam Chairman. This bill deals directly with college student voting, which is obviously a massive conversation that we had a couple of days ago. I wanted to address a couple of things to the committee. This has been a question in front of us for a very long time, and there are some tough questions to ask here. How can someone be an out-of-state student but not an out-of-state voter? If college students do have the right to vote in our universities where they go in their dorms, which the court systems have said in some way, what about the college students from New Hampshire that go to school out of state? Do they get to file absentee ballots in their hometown? What about college students in New Hampshire who go from one town and then move to Durham? Where should they vote? These are some tough questions that we have to answer. HB 429 does not do a good job of answering that. And that's why I'm moving it to as inexpedient to legislate. It doesn't answer our questions.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Muirhead.
I think I agree. I think that the status of being an in-state student is one that's decided by, it applies only to people who are claimed as dependents by their parents. And it applies a 12-month durational residency requirement to those parents. So it asks, are the parents who are claiming as dependent people who have been working and paying taxes in New Hampshire over the previous year? The status of voting doesn't depend on, doesn't depend in any way on whether you've been claimed as a dependent by your parents. They're two totally separate, totally disconnected statuses. And to make one dependent on the other is to really introduce a lot of confusion. And also, I think court breaking the law and breaking the Constitution, because the Constitution prohibits durational residency requirements of more than certainly of a year that would prohibit that. And the Voting Rights Act.
Thank you, Representative Muirhead. I also thought it was, I recognize that the university system is technically independent, so this bill did not have a fiscal note. But I thought hearing that it might cost potentially $170 million to an institute of higher learning was something that probably should have been considered, especially given the current financial times. Is there any further discussion on HB 429? The motion on the floor is inexpedient to legislate. Seeing none, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes.
Representative Sweeney.
Yes.
Representative Hayward.
Yes.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Terosian.
Yes.
Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Groen.
Yes.
Representative Quayle.
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Murray.
Yes.
Representative Sandler.
Yes.
Representative Hamer.
Yes.
Representative Lane.
Representative Lane on mute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Freitas.
Yes.
Representative Hamblett.
Yes.
Representative Muirhead.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
20-0.
HB 429 has been unanimously moved as being recommended to the House floor as inexpedient to legislate. If there is no objection, that will be going on the consent calendar. The next bill that is before the New Hampshire House Election Law Committee this morning is HB 362, relative to the domicile of students for voting purposes. This matter had a public hearing on March 8th. Is there a motion? Representative Quayle.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that the committee retain this bill, HB 362.
Is there? Representative McDonald seconds it. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I don't think this bill is ready to pass. There's two specifics about it. One, it deletes RSA 654(1), Section I, which essentially defines an inhabitant's domicile for voting purposes. And it does this repeals this, which applies to all voters. I think that's very problematic. Secondly, it's my understanding that the subject matter of this bill also touches upon matters still under litigation, I believe, related to the form of SB3. The reason I'd like to retain it is I think that due to other provisions in RSA 64 that we could remove the special status of college students regarding definition of domicile while still fully protecting their rights to vote in New Hampshire if they are indeed domiciled here. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to call the roll. Ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is for HB 362. The motion is to retain.
Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes.
Representative Sweeney.
Yes.
Representative Hayward.
Yes.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Trojan.
Yep.
Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Groen.
Yes.
Representative Quayle.
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody.
No.
Representative Ward.
No.
Representative Murray.
No.
Representative Sandler.
No.
Representative Hamer.
No.
Representative Lane.
No.
Representative Freitas.
No.
Representative Hamblett.
No.
Representative Muirhead.
Representative Muirhead, if you could unmute.
So sorry, no.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
11 to 9.
HB 508 will be retained. The vote is 11-9. Pardon me? Oh, 362, I'm sorry, I've got a problem with my sheet and my brain this morning. The next bill before us is HB 508. This is establishing a committee to study the definition of temporary as it pertains to residents in the state for voting purposes. Is there a motion? Representative Sweeney,
Yes, Madam Chair, I move it expedient to legislate.
is there a second?
I second.
Representative Hayward seconds it. Representative Sweeney, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, very briefly, Madam Chair. This is a bill that I would wholeheartedly support, and I appreciate what the sponsor was seeking to do. We have retained a bill previously today that deals with the same issue, and that's where we should work on the issue in this committee, especially given the dynamics of COVID. Committee work will not be applicable this year. That's why I move ITL.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Representative Terozzi?
Madam Chair, thank you. In the spirit of limiting committee activity this year, I'll vote to ITL. But I hope with the other bill we retain, we address these issues because they're serious issues. And I think it's pretty unbelievable that we have an open-ended term for temporary. Very nature of what most people think temporary is. It's not 5 years or 10 years or something of a long term like that. So I hope we address this with the other bill because it is an important issue. Thank you.
Representative Terozzi, thank you for that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is HB 508. And the motion, is ITL.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes. Representative Cody,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Sandler,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Freitas,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Muirhead,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
20 to 0.
All right, HB 508 has been voted inexpedient to legislate by a vote of 20 to 0. If there's no objection, that will go on the consent calendar. We have 2 items of business left for this committee. They are SB 2 and SB 43. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, we have a couple of amendments, and it's my understanding there might be another amendment that is in our, I'm going to say this carefully, that's in our email inbox. Would love to find it. So if we could take, it's my understanding that Representative Lane and Representative Mooney are working on something. Is that in our inbox? Do we have something?
No, Madam Chair, I'm going to say no because there are still some things that need to be ironed out. So I'd like to make one more go through with OLS before distribution.
All right, so let me ask Representative Lane and Representative Murray, who are familiar with the details of an amendment they would like us to consider in addition to the other ones that we have. This chair will need to recess this committee from 1 to 1:30. We will need to go in recess. So my question is, do you want to try and come back before that at noon or quarter past, or would you prefer to simply recess till 1:30?
1:30, I'm gonna not be here for 1:30.
So So do you think that something can be worked on by 12:15?
Yes, I will do my darndest best.
All right, we'll be back. Let's try to reconvene at 12 o'clock. I want to try to accommodate members who, at 1:30, I understand somebody's going to have to leave, so let's convene at 12 o'clock and 12:15. We'll be back at 12:15. Recessed until 12:15.
Mary, you should mute yourself.
Thank you.
I don't understand how you would miss the.
Madam Chairman, we are unmuted and our video is on.
And your amendments are right there. All right, great. Representative Shiroti.
Good work, Kim.
All right, so, welcome back to the Election Law Committee. We took a little longer than, we had hoped on break, but it allowed me to finish my entire Diet Coke. And we just got some paper copies of the amendment, delivered to us, so, you committee members should have also received it online that we will be considering later this morning. We have two, or this afternoon, we have two bills to be considered, SB 2 and SB 43. Before I address those bills, does anybody have a motion that they would like to bring that is not related to SB 2 or SB 3? Representative Quealy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like, I'm going to make the motion to reconsider HB 144.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Representative Terosian seconds it. Representative Quealy, you were on the prevailing side on that motion. Why are you moving to reconsider? Of course, we don't follow our rules, so it's irrelevant, but.
It's okay. I'm moving to reconsider because upon further thought about the bill, while there are aspects of it that at the time caused me to think it should be ITL, there are other aspects that I think are worthy of further consideration. Specifically, elements related to cleaning up the absentee ballot application forms. It's always a good thing to make forms for the voters more clear to them.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to reconsider our vote on HB 144. The vote was actually to ITL it. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would agree with the representative who spoke prior, and I will support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cody. Anybody else? Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes.
Representative Sweeney.
Yes.
Representative Hayward.
Yes.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Terosian.
Yes.
Representative Barry.
Yes.
Representative Groen.
Yes.
Representative Quayle.
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Murray.
Yes.
Representative Sandler.
Yes.
Representative Hamer.
Yes.
Representative Lane.
Yes.
Representative Freitas.
Yes.
Representative Hamblett.
Yes.
Representative Muirhead.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
20-0.
HB 144 is open for further motion by this committee. Representative Quayle, do you have a motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that the committee retain HB 144.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Representative Terosian seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. For the reasons that is stated, I think the bill is, I think it's worth preserving the opportunity to give it further consideration. Some elements of it. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion on the floor, which is to retain HB 144?
What number? Isn't it?
144. It was a vote we took on Monday that we are reconsidering.
Madam Chairman, who's the primary sponsor on 144?
Representative Bergeron is the primary sponsor, I believe.
Thank you.
Not seeing any further discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes.
Representative Sweeney.
Yes.
Representative Hayward.
Yes.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Terosian.
Yes.
Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Groen.
Yes.
Representative Quayle.
Yes.
Clerk, yes. Representative Cody.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Bergeron. Murray,
Yes.
Representative Sandler,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Freitas,
Yes.
Representative Hamblett,
Yes.
Representative Muirhead,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think you skipped me, Representative Hamer.
And your vote would be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who's she saying?
Representative Hamer.
I got her check.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
If you noticed, our clerk was on a much faster roll today with these names, and she just kept going, so sure we got it right the next time.
20-0, Madam Clerk.
20-0, so without objection, this HB 144 will be retained. The two bills we had on the calendar for this afternoon, that I announced for this afternoon. The first one would be SB2. SB2 had a public hearing on January 22nd. It was our first public hearing. It was allowing the pre-processing of ballots and postponement of annual town meetings in the year 2021 where concerns of COVID exist. Is there a motion on SB2?
I make a motion, Madam Chair, to retain Senate Bill 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative Terosian?
Sure. So the content, the relevant content of this bill has been covered and addressed with an executive order of the governor's. There may be a chance that at some point those executive orders become relaxed. In the event that they get relaxed prior to some of the towns that haven't got to their town elections yet, we could task this to give them relief. In the event that the executive orders stay in place, this isn't needed anyway. And in the final analysis, the bill will drop dead after 2021 anyway. So I think it's a good backstop to retain it in case it's needed. Hence the motion.
Is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor, which is to retain SB2? I'm seeing no discussion, so I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
Yes.
Representative Terosian,
Yes.
Representative Berry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk is yes. Representative Cody,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Sandler,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Freitas,
Yes.
Representative Hamblett. Representative Hamblett,
Yes. Yes.
thank you. Representative Muirhead,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
20-0.
SB2, the vote was 20-0. It will be retained. The final bill before this committee for consideration today is SB 43. This bill had a public hearing on March 5th. It is an act authorizing an audit of the Rockingham County District 7 elections. We've had a large public hearing. We've seen a few at least amendments officially processed by OLS, some by email. Is there a motion? Representative Mooney.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I would move that this committee adopt what is Amendment 2021-0772H to Senate Bill 43.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, I would second that motion.
Representative Mooney seconds that motion. Representative Mooney, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes, thank you.
The amendment is approximately the same length as the first bill and It starts, I will say, by amending the bill, and it is a complete replacement. Thank you, Representative Moon.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Point of order?
Yes,
Could you please repeat the number of the amendment?
2021-0772.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you can find anything in your email at this point, but it's there.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to introduce Amendment 772H to Senate Bill 43. This amendment replaces the entire bill and is based on the people of Wyndham and the people throughout the state and the testimony heard last week on Senate Bill 43. We are most grateful for the time and thought placed into this audit. It's clear that Senate Bill 43 must pass as questions need to be answered. This amendment, again, that replaces the entire bill, carefully adds items suggested by Wyndham to perform a forensic election audit by a forensic election audit team to see if the results of the November 3rd, 2020 general election results are in comparison with the recount. The audit authorizes and directs an audit of the ballot counting machines, their memory cards, and hand tabulation of all ballots. The audit process shall be determined by the forensic audit election team, and at a minimum, the audit process shall include all ballots run through the machines used in Wyndham on November 3rd, 2020, and a hand tallying of all ballots in the Wyndham-Rockingham District Number 7 state rep race, the governor race, and the race for U.S. Senate. The audit's purpose is to generate a report as to whether the machine counting devices and memory cards functioned properly on November 3rd, whether the number of ballots tallied by hand in Wyndham on election night and those tallied in the recount is the same as the ballots cast, whether hand tabulation procedures followed by Wyndham and the Secretary of State during the recount contributed to variances and include recommendations for improvement to machine and hand processing. The location of the audit would be a location other than Wyndham and other than a customary place that the Secretary of State would hold a recount. The audit shall be live streamed and recorded. Public access is determined, of course, by safety precautions by the fire marshal and in equal numbers of 3 groups, Wyndham designees selected by the town of Wyndham, designees by the Secretary of State and Attorney General offices, and members of the public. I'd be careful to note that there are certain companies and individuals not allowed to the audit, one of which is LHS Associates, that was responsible for the sales and services of the ballot counting devices. Wyndham is responsible for transporting the machines, the Secretary of State and the AG's offices for transporting ballots to and from the audit location and for security. The audit shall be completed within 45 days of passage. There will be a forensic report due to the Secretary of State, to the town of Wyndham, to the Ballot Law Commission within 45 days of the audit completion. Additionally, reports of the Secretary of State and Attorney General offices to the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, and the Board of Selectmen at Wyndham, as well as a report of the Ballot Law Commission to be issued. The Secretary of State and the Attorney General shall have the authority to unseal the ballot boxes for the purposes of the audit, the forensic audit. The audit shall not alter official results of the House of Representative race. And the Secretary of State, Attorney General's office, and the town of Wyndham shall provide whatever information or documentation is needed by the forensic election audit team to conduct this forensic audit. And this amendment would make the bill effective upon its passage. And so with that review of amendment number 772H to Senate Bill 43, taking into very careful consideration all of the testimony, feedback, and written suggestions for this forensic audit. With that, I will conclude my remarks and urge all of my colleagues on this very important bill for Wyndham, for New Hampshire, to vote ought to pass.
Thank you, Representative Mooney. Any questions for Representative Mooney or any discussion on this motion? Hearing none? Sorry.
Representative Mooney, has this matter been brought, reviewed by Wyndham officials? I noticed that Wyndham officials are on this amendment.
Yes, this amendment has, we've been in communication with the Wyndham delegation, and they have seen this amendment.
All right. I have a question on the amendment. Page 2, lines 12 through 17. I think that the decision, that, we're going to have if we have this at a sufficient place, big enough to do this and provide security, that members of the public and certainly officials are going to want to be there. But I would prefer in legislation that we don't get into the nitty-gritty. I would rather leave the nitty-gritty to the officials, which would include people like the fire marshal and whatever they decide. So when we talk about who might attend, it seems to me that if the town of Wyndham wants to have their moderator in attendance, the forensic audit team is going to make sure that the moderator doesn't have anything to do with it, but it would allow that person to be, if Wyndham wants that person to be present, I don't see an issue with that. And I know that Wyndham officials, when they looked at it, would want to be able to have some say, and there are certainly people who have been active, and I feel that election officials involved in the recount would include the Secretary of State and probably the Deputy Secretary, who you were asking to designate people, but they would not be able to attend. And I understand that there were concerns about LHS associates being there. I would think that they would want to take advantage of the live stream anyways, and I don't know that Wyndham would want them there, but maybe somebody from the forensic audit team wants them there. And Wyndham would need to use one of their designees. So I raised that issue I see that Representative Mooney, Representative McDonald, Representative Bergeron, and Representative Lane are on this amendment. And I'm wondering whether and I know that Wyndham does have concerns that Wyndham be allowed to designate, so I'm wondering whether the sponsors would agree that this amendment I think it's a terrific amendment, and I want to thank everybody for doing the work, but I would like it contingent on lines 12 through 17 not being a part of the amendment, because I think we need to consider some liberties in regards to who can attend. And if there's only enough space for 6 people at that point, it's not going to be much of an issue anyways. So I throw that out there for discussion. Representative Brown.
I think the intent, Madam Chair, of this is that the people in these, especially the first 2, not be involved in the process. I agree with you that C would also involve I believe would involve the Secretary of State and the Deputy Secretary of State. But if the sentence previous to that read to avoid the appearance of propriety, none of the following groups shall be involved in the audit process. That would allow them to attend but not be involved in the audit process.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
I believe Mr. Trojan had a question first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Trojan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I ask Representative Mooney a question in regard to this?
Sure, go ahead.
So what was the intent of this, Representative, on Part C?
Part C, the election officials.
Yeah.
That was based on feedback received. I would be amenable to removing that. I would be amenable to removing B. However, I would ask that A be remaining in the bill.
All right, I think I'm okay with that. Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Thank you, ma'am. My suggestion for at least A, for something to think about for the other ask for B, may be that such persons are available but not in an active role. So they're available if consultation is necessary, and they're there, but they are not taking an active role.
Well, I guess I come back to that we micromanage too much. Sorry. That's why I sort of wanted to leave it to the 3 groups that have the biggest interest in this as sort of selecting who is there, Wyndham and the Secretary of State's office. So Representative Sweeney.
Would a motion to amend the amendment be in order?
I will entertain that, and subject to moving an amendment on the amendment for the amendment. Let's see if there's anybody else who wants to make a comment. Representative Lane, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the language was added, as Representative Mooney indicated, to address some of the concerns that were raised by the town of Wyndham and that show up in Amendment 0638H. I think it was to avoid improprieties so that people trusted that there would not be the people who actually conducted the recount and conducted the hand count the night of the election were not directly involved. And I think that's where their concern came from. But if we can address that and we feel comfortable by taking it out, that the process will be, transparent. I think that was what they were trying to get at, just to answer some of the questions that came up. And if we delete them, I guess my question is, are we comfortable that addresses the transparency issue that was raised?
Well, I think the transparency issue was raised by Wyndham. So to that extent, they need to pick the right people there that they want to have there. If they're concerned about it, why should I be deciding that for Wyndham? And the same thing for the Secretary of State's office. If they're concerned about, the Secretary of State's and AG's office is concerned about the appearance of impropriety, and they should be, I think once we start picking who we think creates an appearance of impropriety, I think we have lots of other people who might think appearances of impropriety are raised by other people that don't occur to us. And to the extent LHS, and I'm not I'm sort of willing to go to the mat on B and C coming out. I'm not so stuck on A because I think LHS can view it live streamed or be a part of it. And the forensic audit team, in my opinion, should have the ability to access anybody they want. So if it turns out, would this mean that as part of the forensic audit team, they wanted to ask the moderator in Wyndham something that went on? I'm afraid that this would, we're picturing the actual process being in a room and people being there, just prohibit them from contacting them as part of the audit process. And I think we need to be careful about that because I think it would potentially prevent them from even contacting LHS associates in regards to the machine parts and the machines. So I think the burden of impropriety is out of our hands and it should be given to the people who have the most interest in effectuating a good outcome of this audit. Representative Sweeney, did you have a question? Representative Troisi.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I personally don't have a problem with the language the way it is. I understand what you're saying. To me, it is very important in light of what's happened, in light of the feedback we've gotten in this, to avoid the appearance of impropriety. That language in and of itself doesn't limit, from what I can tell, the ability for the forensic experts to consult and with all three of those people on the matter. And it doesn't prevent them from picking anybody else in any other entities that they need to. I think it adds a little stronger language to the fact that we take impropriety seriously, and it makes it a little cleaner in my mind. I'm not opposed to taking B and C out, but I don't really have a problem with the way it is. I just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Further comments? Representative Berry.
Are we discussing the amendment to the amendment right now, or are we on the amendment itself? Okay,
talking
sorry,
about
I had to know.
I know the emails are making it. Representative Ward.
I'd just like to say that I would agree with retaining all three sections, A, B, and C. They seem, we're going to go through this entire process, we might as well include those restrictions.
I need to tell you that I don't, Wyndham has specifically said that they are going to want people there. And you don't get to pick who you think the other side thinks is improper. Representative Whaley.
If we take lines 12 through 17 out, there's nothing that precludes the auditors from consulting with whomever they wish anyway. And if we leave them in, there's nothing to prevent the auditors from consulting whoever they wish if they need technical information or process information. Is that right? Am I interpreting this right?
Right.
It's a separate issue. This is about just public access.
This is about public access and whether or not Wyndham and the Secretary of State can have whoever they want attend. That's really what this is about. And if you've ever been to a recount, there is a significant amount of people present at recounts. And I think it could eliminate a fair amount of people, as I said, the Secretary of State and the Deputy, and some of their staff. And it would eliminate the moderator, the town clerk, and anybody who touched a ballot in Wyndham from being in attendance.
Follow up, please.
Representative Whaley.
Do we know anything about the seating arrangements for members of the public? Will they
No,
be
you don't know anything
separated
because
from?
this will be under the, I'm assuming that the forensic audit team will want them separated, but that's why we got the selection for members of the public. I would presume that that's why the people on this left it up to them, and the forensic audit team is in charge of the actual conduct in space. I would assume they're going to want to cordon off the area that the audit and the ballots are being touched. You're not going to want anybody in the area that the ballots are. I mean, they have a personal stake in the outcome of this also. And I apologize for raising this issue, but I think that it's important that, frankly, the Secretary of State is allowed to be present in the building when this process is happening. Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Thank you, ma'am. As it's written, are you saying that under section C, that members of the Secretary of State staff that are well-versed in running recounts and such would not be, if they happen to have been involved in any way on the November 12th recount, they would not be allowed to be involved in this?
They would not be able to be present at any time based on this language.
And a follow-up. Is that going to create a staffing problem for them to complete this task?
I don't know, the forensic audit team would be in charge of who they wanted to do the test. Representative Lane.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're tending to read this in isolation because we do have the auditors selected and the Secretary of State gets to pick, and the AG pick one of the members of the team, and the town picks a member, and then those two pick the third member. And they set up how they're going to do the audit and who they're going to meet with and how they're going to do the audit and who they talk to. If it's creating an issue, I guess I'm not like you, I'm not willing to forego the whole bill because of these sections. We put it in to honor some of the things that the town of Wyndham had asked for, but I think there are other safeguards to give them that transparency. So I don't think taking it out necessarily eliminates the transparency, because the audit team has to be transparent about their methodology and they have to give a report. Just to reassure everybody, I'm not sure that this is the only thing that's giving us transparency.
So I guess Representative Lane is one of the sponsors on the bill. As to A, B, and C, what is your position on what should be, can or needs to be left in?
Right. I mean, I guess I'm also a little bit concerned about A, because if they do want them there, if there's a glitch with the machines at the thing, do they want somebody there from that company to try and explain it, not necessarily to fiddle with the machine, but to explain what's going on? And that would be up to the audit team.
Thank you, Representative Lane. And I think that was my position when I saw the distinction, my concern when I saw the distinction that if we're leaving this to the audit team, we should leave it to the audit team. Representative Muirhead.
I think I agree with Madam Chair. I think it's okay to not have sections B and C, or even A, B, and C. These are observers in this section, and public access to observing the audit is what we might say in line 5 of page 2. And we have public access to observing the audit so that the process is transparent. And the people who are chosen, are decided by Wyndham designees of the Secretary of State and AG, and members of the public. There are 3 groups that get to choose who are observers, and totally different from who's participating in the process, which is page 1, line 9. And so I think it's, fine not to have those. I don't think that those sections need to be there.
Further discussion? All right, Representative Rowan.
Madam Chair, I think this section, by excluding these groups literally from the building during the audit, would certainly exclude key people from Wyndham from even being in the building. The way I read it, it would exclude anybody from the Secretary of State's office who was involved in the recount from being in the building. It would exclude LHS associates who might be needed to answer questions from the forensic auditors from being in the building. And I think that this would handcuff the forensic auditors. So I would move that we remove, starting in line 10 with to avoid through line 17, we remove from this amendment.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Representative Hayward has seconded that. Is there further discussion on the motion? I'm not seeing any. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Sweeney,
Yes.
Representative Hayward,
Yes.
Representative Mooney,
No.
Representative Terosian,
No.
Representative Barry,
Yes.
Representative Groen,
Yes.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Representative Coe,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Murray,
Yes.
Representative Sandler,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Freitas,
Yes.
Representative Hamblett,
Yes.
Representative Muirhead,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So it's 18-2.
So what's currently on the floor is a motion to adopt 2021-0772 minus lines 10.5 through 17. That motion is on the floor. Is there
Madam
further
Chair.
discussion, Representative Sweeney?
Madam Chair, I move that we further amend the amendment by changing on the first page, line 27, remove the race for governor and replace it with the race for president and vice president of the United States.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Would you like to speak to your motion?
I would. I think the people that are looking for Wyndham results, I think most people that go to the polls, and we see this time and time again, vote for president and vice president, and then they drop off the ballot. I think if we do a hand tally of the ballots cast in Wyndham for the president and vice president for the United States Senate race, and then the District 7 state representative race, we'll get a more fully encompassing version of the ballot from the very top of the ballot at the presidential level to the bottom of the ballot of the state representative race.
This
That was
meeting is
encouraged.
in recess until 1:35. As the committee is aware, the chair had a commitment beginning in 2 minutes that she cannot miss, and we are in recess till 1:35. Thank you.
What time is it now? Oh, jeez.
I'm not
video-
waiting
Madam
for
Chairman,
Pam, I'm waiting for Pam.
Election law.
Madam Chairman, our video is on and we are unmuted.
Hold on, my computer's on for my. All right, we unmute. All right. Representative Barry, did you unmute us or just?
Yes, Madam Chairman, we are unmuted and our video is turned on.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody, for indulging me. I had a previous commitment that required my participation in a different video conference starting at 1:05. This committee is reconvened to continue consideration on SB 43. Amendment on the floor is 2021-0772, which has been amended to delete lines, what I refer to as 10.5 through 17. That motion passed. And there is another motion that's been made on the floor by Representative Sweeney and seconded by Representative Ross. Representative Sweeney,
Madam Chair, I withdraw my motion.
you've withdrawn your motion. Representative Barry, what's your position on your second?
I will also withdraw my second, Madam Chairman.
All right. So on the floor is HB 2021-0772 with the lines that I spoke about deleted. We have contacted OLS in regards to making that deletion in the hopes we might actually have a new amendment number, but I don't believe we do at this time. I fortunately have not been involved in that. Representative Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to confuse things even more, but one of my colleagues caught an error. I think something that should be added on line 5, page 2, towards the end, to add the words "to observe" after the word "numbers." So in other words, it would say public access to the audit shall be granted in equal numbers to observe as is deemed. So I would make the motion to add those words "to observe."
Is there a second to your motion? Representative Hamlet seconds.
Yes, I second that.
Thank you. Representative Lane, did you want to speak any more to that motion?
I don't think so, Madam Chair. It's exactly what we were talking about. And I think it kind of came up when we were talking about the lines 10.5 through 17, just to make it clear that they were observing. So
I will just point out that I really don't want to test this theory that if you put a couple of lawyers looking at a document, you can never finalize it. So.
Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was actually one of the non-lawyers.
All right. There is a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Representative Hamlet.
Oh, am I unmuted? Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't lower my hand. I would just seconded the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no further discussion, I'm going to call for the roll. If the clerk would call the roll, we are on an amendment moved by Representative Lane, seconded by Representative Hamlet.
Okay. Representative McDonald.
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien.
Yes.
Representative Sweeney.
Yes.
Representative Hayward.
Yes.
Representative Mooney.
Yes.
Representative Trojan.
Yes.
Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Groen.
Yes.
Representative Quayle.
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Bergeron. No.
Murray.
Thank you. Representative Murray.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Sandler.
Yes.
Representative Hamer.
Yes.
Representative Lane.
Yes.
Representative Freitas.
Muted.
Representative,
Representative Freitas had to leave this afternoon, and
I actually think she's out there. She was waiting for another invite, Madam Chair. I don't know if she's in or out at the moment.
Representative Hamlet?
Yes, yes.
Representative Muirhead?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
yes.
Okay, 20-0. How do we? Okay.
On the floor, we have a motion for 2021-0772 as amended by motion to delete lines 10.5 through 17 and to add the words "to observe" after the words "equal numbers" on line 5. The motion on the Senate bill as amended is open on the floor to further amendment. If there are no further amendments, or does anybody have anything else they'd like to say in regards to the motion on the floor?
Madam Chairman, just to clarify, this is Representative Mooney's original motion?
Yes.
We're voting on that.
It's Representative Mooney's original motion, which has been amended 2 times.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, I'm seeing nothing as far as hands online, hands electronically, or anything in the room unless Representative Mooney's pen posed is a hand. No. No hand up. Okay, thank you. All right.
So we're moving to amend.
We're moving the
Motion
so
was
the
to
motion
amend.
on the floor is to amend SB 43 as proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Based on our deliberations. Thank you. All right,
So
if the
this-
clerk could call the roll, we'll spend a little time afterwards.
Yeah, we're,
5 guys.
okay. Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien?
Yes.
Representative Sweeney?
Yes.
Representative Hayward?
Yes.
Representative Mooney?
Yes.
Representative Terosian?
Yes.
Representative Berry?
Yes.
Representative Groen?
Yes.
Representative Quayle?
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody?
Yes.
Representative Ward?
Yes.
Representative Murray?
Yes.
Representative Sandler?
Yes.
Representative Hamer?
Yes.
Representative Lane?
Yes.
Representative Freitas?
Yes.
Representative Hamblett?
Yes.
Representative Muirhead?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
20-0.
On the floor before the House Election Law Committee is SB 43 as amended by the committee. I will leave it to OLS to decide how to describe it as it arrived with the words SB 43 as amended by the Senate. What is on the floor now is SB 43 as amended by this House committee. Is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing no hands in the room or electronically, so I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien?
Yes.
Representative Sweeney?
Yes.
Representative Hayward?
Yes.
Representative Mooney?
Yes.
Representative Terosian?
Yes.
Representative Berry?
Yes.
Representative Groen?
Yes.
Representative Quayle?
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Representative Cody?
Yes.
Representative Murray?
Yes.
Representative Sandler?
Yes.
Representative Ward?
Yes.
Yeah, Representative Ward, I think I skipped over you.
That you did, yes.
I saw your hand there, Representative Ward. You would have gotten you.
Yeah, it's because I was, never mind. Representative Hamer?
Yes.
Representative Lane?
Yes.
Representative Freitas?
Yes.
Representative Hamblett?
Yes.
Representative Muirhead?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
20-0.
SB 43 as amended by the Senate has now been amended by this committee with a 20-0 vote. Normally, I would put this on the consent calendar. I guess I'd want the consensus of the committee as to whether or not you think this will be pulled for debate. In which case, I would then ask it to go into the regular calendar just because of the way it processes.
Madam Chairman, I believe this should go on the consent calendar. If representatives feel so impassioned about this, they have the option to remove it as such. But I think in the interest of moving forward with this process again in an expeditious manner, it should go on the consent calendar.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on it?
Yes, Madam Chair, I agree with the previous speaker, and also I think the people of Wyndham deserve to have this expedited as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So without objection, this will go on the consent calendar. Does anybody have any other business to do before the committee here today? I'm not seeing anything. I will be in touch with Representative Cody as to minority opinions for the calendar. We will try to get those all coordinated. I probably won't be in touch for a day or two.
That's good, Madam Chair.
But we will work on getting everything for the calendar so that this committee can represent to the full body the work that has been done over the prior really less than 2 months. I want to thank everybody in this room, on screen, every member of this committee. I want to thank Representative Murray for being willing to come back a second day to get the work done. I think this is the most bills that the Election Law Committee has ever dealt with. And we had some unanimous votes, so that means something. So I want to thank everybody. And the next meeting of this committee will be in the calendar, and you'll get an email for it. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.